The Ping An Group, I think you probably know, is the insurance company with the largest market cap of 20 trillion yen in the world. It's Ping An Insurance, and Ping An has developed an AI doctor service. 200 million registered users have already been generated, and per day they can service about 400,000 consultations. They can have 400,000 consultations a day. This is only possible through an AI doctor. If for 400,000 consultations a day, how many human doctors would you need? That's almost impossible. Too large a number. But that's made possible online. In Japan, even now, and I haven't checked the number, I think this is probably prohibited by law to issue prescriptions online. Is probably prohibited by law. In China, it's a reality. It will reduce cost. It helps people. And probably many, many children and many, many elderly persons have been saved by this. It's good for the people's welfare. But in order to protect the traditional, conventional pharmacies or taxi companies, traditional industries, our government has abandoned the future. There's no future for a government like that because they are keeping the future at a distance by their laws. But in China, it's possible to issue prescriptions online. It has 200 million users, and within just 1 hour, you're able to have drugs delivered to your house, and 24/7. If something happens to your family, you have AI family doctors who know very well about each person in your family, their medical records, and can provide very good advice. And if necessary, the AI family doctor can reserve hospital beds for you in a nearby hospital and doctor services online. And there's nothing like that in Japan, but I think this is something that we'll begin to see expanding across the world. And in terms of AI doctors, probably Ping An Good Doctor is the most advanced company in the world. I'm sure that this trend will develop going forward.
So the next topic or next company which I'd like to introduce is Mapbox.
As we've talked about this morning, AI is about to be all around us. And for it to be around us, it needs to understand what's around. This is where live location comes in. This is a piston. Last century, the fundamental unit of industry was the piston. As we moved from humans to horses, to steam, to combustion, our reach grew. We moved things faster. We went to more places. It was this ability to continue to churn and innovate. This piston was churning at the center of the world, billions firing, paving roads, transporting us, creating cities. Engines roaring, worlds building, driving change. This pace of global change is only accelerating. Welcome to the age of live location. Today, the fundamental unit of industry is no longer the piston. It's the sensor. Sensors in our phones, sensors in our cars, sensors in our homes. I'm not driving this car. It's the sensors and the live location data from the road that are driving. The industrial era is changing. The piston firing, you used to have to fire the piston like 10 times to get 10 times the energy and output. Today, we are no longer constrained to basic linear growth. In the age of live location, it's the sensor that measures movement, a real-time truth of the physical world. Using artificial intelligence and these massive amounts of data, this is the dawn of a new era. Live location is a network effect. Empowered developers, decentralized sensors, ubiquitous devices, all feeding data back into the platform. Today at Mapbox, we have more than 1.2 million developers building on top of our platform. Developers who have taken our APIs, our SDKs, and our code and put it inside their apps. We have over 400 million monthly active users. And what's crazy about this is these users aren't just, we're not just getting paid for these users. We're getting anonymous, aggregated data back. Every month, we're collecting over 7.5 billion miles of data. Latitude, longitude, timestamp, elevation, directionality. This is the stuff that lets me identify a new road. This is the stuff that lets me see the traffic out front. This is the stuff that lets me see the pulse of a city. Mapbox operates a live location platform that's breathing and growing and ripples with life. This pulse of life is essential. Without it, the map is static and dead. This is the frontier of live location. A map of connections, symphonies of movement, learning, and exchange. Speaking of frontiers and where we're going, I think it's important to understand how we got started and our roots and the mission that moves me. We started Mapbox because the places we were exploring, the map was blank. Monitoring deforestation in the Congo. Being able to actually track malaria and look to where to put clinics. Using satellite imagery to measure floods in Pakistan. When I first landed in Kabul back in 2009 to monitor the election, literally the map of the city was just an intersection. You had Ring Road and Jalalabad Road coming up from the south. How are we going to map an election when the map was blank? We needed better tools to do our job. So we built those tools. And then we opened them up to the world. Now, as we move, this is a map of our lives. Zoom in, this is a map of all human activity. Every human transit, every package delivered, every memory shared, every connection created is tied to a location. And at Mapbox, we give developers access to that location to change how the user moves, connects, and explores. For example, this is a bridge. This is a fusion of the digital space and the physical space. This is not just about finding somebody to go date. This is about understanding where you are, where you hang out, with Tinder adding their new maps. Or not just chatting, this is actually being able to show live what's happening right now in every city in the world with Snapchat. Zoom in, see what your friends are doing. In China, I don't just share my run on Kowloon, I get to share it in 3D using AR, or plan a trip together with my friends on AliTrip using Figgy. And today, I'm excited to share our latest customer, Facebook. I mean, talk about a company focused in terms of AI and leveraging the graph. Now, it's not about just finding where you're going out to look for coffee or dinner tonight. This is about leveraging where you go out, where you like to go out, what you're interested in, and what your friends are interested in, and making a live map of that. The power to build these maps, that power is defining a narrative. Historically, that's been all locked up only with elites, governments, and military. We're changing that. Today, we are all mappers. This is a tremendous opportunity and a huge responsibility. Our community of over 400 million monthly active users, the data they make, that's our truth. And in a world where truth is becoming increasingly subjective, how do we as humans, what tools do we as humans use to start identifying fundamental truths? This is what's so exciting. In the age of sensors, objective truth is within our reach. Truth as they say, is out there. The truth is right out there in those 7+ billion miles a month that we're collecting. So how do we explain truth to machines? How do we explain truth to an autonomous vehicle? A fleet of scooters, for example. I can't just know where it is. It needs to know with certainty. AI gives us unprecedented opportunity to verify truth. We can leverage our live location platform combined with neural nets running on the edge, on device, close to the truth. We can use machines to reestablish a profound truth. Cities built on truth, roads made with truth, cars powered by truth, truth living inside the map, updated simultaneously globally. And all of this delivered to the edge. Today, we're augmenting GPS with front-facing cameras. This is the most powerful sensor we've ever had access to in the world. The most obvious use cases for autonomous vehicles that need semantic maps to show the exact location of road features. This is semantic segmentation. This is discrete feature detection of people, of roads, tracking cars, using augmented reality. And most importantly, this is open for developers. As a developer-centric company, let me introduce the Vision SDK. This brings the phone, the camera, and the automobile together, giving developers full control over the driving experience. By turning the camera into such a powerful sensor, now developers have access to everything the camera sees, not just the context to build apps, but the raw data to control what happens to the app, what happens to the car, and what data they should be collecting and sending back to the cloud. You can see all of this running live right now in the car outside. We're going to be doing the unveiling with some of our friends from SoftBank right after the keynote. As you can see, we're building the invisible infrastructure for the future. A layer of data and movement that moves not just people and machines, but everything. Masa's vision and the founder's vision, this combination is a superpower that is setting the pace car for the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful to be here.
Mapbox は GPS.
So Mapbox using GPS and AI collects the data from all over the world and also combine with Facebook and Snapchat and trying to open the API to the other players so they can be neutral. So other companies are going to add more data to their platform. So exactly, it's a location-based AI platform. It is really exciting. I'm sure that they are going to play even more important role. Of course, Google has Google Map, but competing against Google, there is Facebook and also Snap, which is competing against Google. And all the other companies who are competing against Google, they don't want to use Google Map because using API and they are offering or supplying data to Google, that actually means that Google is going to absorb their customers' data. So that's why they don't want to use Google Map. So Mapbox is neutral. So maybe those companies are using Mapbox as a platform to collect the location-based data, and that's the value of Mapbox. Data is collected from different companies, different customers, and also different services. I'm sure that you are using your smartphones or tablet, PCs, and Alibaba Cloud, Amazon Cloud, or Google or Facebook. You are having data all over the world, and I think it's really difficult to really store and manage the data. So the data management actually requires your own dedicated SE, systems engineer. It's not convenient. So maybe it could be good to store those in one location.
And that can be done by Cohesity. Cohesity's services were introduced to SoftBank employees, and all of the employees who heard the news all said they want to use this Cohesity service. They're very excited about the new service. And so I wanted you to know about Cohesity more. So I'd like to introduce Mohit, please. He was formerly a top engineer at Google.
Thanks for having me here. Thank you, Masa. It's been said that the most valuable resource in the world today is not oil anymore. It's data. And we generate more data in 1 year today than in all of the years combined since the beginning of time up until a few years back. Imagine how much data that we generate. Okay? The problem is that despite the fact that data is the most valuable resource, we store data today on infrastructure, on storage, that is primitive, that is dumb. And I'm here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how to build storage infrastructure that's more innovative, how we can bring AI to that infrastructure, how we can bring AI to storage, how we can store data more intelligently, right? So let's talk about a new data platform for the AI era. My name is Mohit Aaron. I'm the founder and CEO of Cohesity. Here's a little bit about Cohesity. Our mission is to redefine secondary apps and data. That's the part of the storage we will concentrate on. I'll talk more about that in my next slides. It's a $60 billion TAM, total addressable market. People spend $60 billion on the secondary part of their data. That's how big it is. That's how big the problem is. The company was founded 5 years back by me. My background is that before doing Cohesity, I was the founder of a company called Nutanix, which came up with innovation called hyperconvergence in the primary storage space. And before that, I spent 5 years at Google helping build the Google file system. So if you have any data that you store in Google, be it through Gmail, YouTube, Maps, it all touches the Google file system somewhere. I was part of that small team. And that's the innovation that we are bringing now to the world. The company has been selling for 2.5 years, so we are a relatively young company, but already 4 of the 10 biggest banks in the world use us. The US federal government uses us. A lot of healthcare vendors in the US, the big ones, use us. Just last year itself, we had 600% growth in revenue. Names like AutoNation, Hyatt, and a bunch of other ones that I have on there, just a small subset, use us now. And we are very thankful for all the top-tier investors that have put their faith in us. SoftBank recently put money in us, and before that was the world's best investors, Sequoia, Google, and even strategic investors like HP, Cisco, and whatnot. They all use us. They all put money in us. So before I speak about innovation in storage, Masa in the morning spoke about innovation in smartphones. So let's go through that a little bit, and let's see what lessons we can learn and apply them to storage, right? So before the smartphone came, we all used to carry multiple devices. One of them was a regular phone, maybe a Nokia phone. The next one was a music player, a GPS device, a camera, a calculator, a flashlight, a camcorder. All this was a different device managed using a different UI, so it was a bunch of siloed mess. And then the smartphone came, and it consolidated all of that mess onto one platform, right? So that's the first thing it did. It consolidated, it gave us that one platform on which we consolidated all those silos. The second thing we did is it gave us a single UI to manage all those silos. The third thing it did was it gave us the notion of an app store from which we can download other apps. and thereby extend the capability of the platform. And lastly, as Masa said, it gave us AI. Now we have Siri on the iPhone. We can give orders to what we want to do. We have apps that are very smart. We can just talk to them. That's what a smartphone did. What if I tell you that the problems in storage are very similar to what used to be in the consumer world before the smartphone came? And what if I tell you the solutions are also very similar to what a smartphone did on the way it brought this innovation into the world? So let's go to storage now. So I'm going to first draw the data center. So I depict the data center. We draw an analogy to iceberg. The tip of the iceberg, the part above the surface of water, is called primary storage. That's where we run our production apps. But there is a big part of the storage that's called secondary. That's the part below the surface of water. That's 80% of our data. Bulk of our data sits there, right? Of all the zettabytes we generate, that's the 80%. Let's talk about what's secondary. I'm going to talk a little bit more about secondary because my company starts with focus on the secondary. So secondary consists of backups. It consists of archival for long-term data retention. It consists of test and development. Our developers do that. It consists of file shares. It consists of object storage. And it consists of analytics. The problem is that all of that is very fragmented. All of that runs in silos, just like what we used to do before the smartphone era in the consumer world. Another problem is that it's very inefficient. All those silos, you can't access data from one silo onto the next one. It contains copies all through. The data is very dark. There is very poor visibility. There's lack of AI. These are all the problems that plague just the data center. Next, let's talk about the cloud. By going to the cloud, all we've done is offloaded machine management to someone like Amazon. But the problems still remain. We still have to manage those workloads using different UIs. They're still fragmented, like archival, files and objects, backups, test and dev, analytics. They're all fragmented, right? So the problems are similar to what we used to face before the smartphone era. Let's see how we can fix them. So our solution is to innovate on this notion of what we call a secondary data cloud, right? So just like the smartphone brought a single platform on which you can consolidate all those silos, the secondary data cloud can consolidate all those silos. All workloads and data can sit on this one platform. That was innovation number one that smartphone brought. Innovation number two that it brought was there was a single UI to manage all that mess. And yes, we have a single UI through which we can manage all of this, a SaaS-based single UI. The third innovation it brought was the notion of an app store, where you could download intelligent apps. And so yes, this platform has the notion of an app store. You can download intelligent apps to run on this platform. And finally, the last innovation that the smartphone brought was the notion of AI, intelligent apps, the way to manage all this intelligently. And so yes, we can manage all that intelligently through AI. Let me show you how. So the first way in which we can bring AI and efficiency in the world is by improving IT productivity. We can give machine-driven operational insights to IT. So for instance, when they try to run out of storage, we can help them with capacity planning, tell them they're going to run out of storage in 6 months, please buy something now, and so on and so forth. We can help them detect ransomware before it hits and does some damage. We can help with SLA management. So imagine that this platform is doing backups of primary storage. We can automatically configure those backups. You have something new running on some new production data, we can automatically configure the backup policies to start backing them. We can predict failures before they happen. So before they can have an effect on your SLAs, we can predict failures. We can enable data insights. We give deep visibility to the data. We provide in-place analytics. These are only some of the ways in which we can bring AI to this reality. So I'll summarize. We start very simple. We have a big vision, but we start by consolidating just data protection and NAS. But once we are in the data center, then we eliminate all that legacy mess and form that secondary data cloud that I spoke about. We bring that smartphone-like simplicity and intelligence to the storage world. And we have a big footprint now in the US, in Europe, and we are beginning to expand in Asia. Together with the partnership with SoftBank, we plan to conquer the world. So that's second year of cloud. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. まあ、コヘシティが最後の。
So Cohesity is the final presenter. So we've heard the rounds of presentations. What's your impression?
So SoftBank is a company which is innovating the information, which is bringing the information innovation, starting from PC, and then moving to the internet, and then mobile internet, and then now moving into AI. So the center of gravity has shifted to AI. So what is SoftBank? What do we do? We heard that SoftBank used to be a communication provider, but now it's becoming an investment company or investor. Well, yes, we have made a lot of investments so far, but investments alone will not reveal the real value of SoftBank. SoftBank has made great investment to internet companies, and we are creating or building a group of SoftBank. But for the last year, we are moving into the AI. We are looking at the top service providers of the AI, and those are a family of SoftBank, and we are a majority shareholder of those companies, and we are expanding the group. Well, I have introduced several companies, and I'm sure that you have felt that AI will accelerate the decision-making and on-demand decision-making, on-demand ordering, and also AI will enable the lower cost and bigger safety, and also customization, and more accurate and more detailed you can actually find out things, so that you can be more accurately infer what's coming. Inference was done by human beings. Human beings have the only entity which can infer or which can predict what's coming. But it's no longer limited to the human beings. Computer power is not just used for the search or not just used for the tabular calculation, but it can be used for inferring what's next, predicting what's coming. And that will urge human beings to take certain actions. Well, you may wonder if SoftBank is AI company, but AI is invented by a certain company, so that's why it's AI company. But rather, I think we want to really think about how or for what purpose we use AI. So AI is Internet was used for shopping by Amazon or Alibaba, and Internet was used for communication by Facebook or Google, or it's used for the search by Google. But now it is just the tool. So far, what Internet has done is, as a business model, there's only one business model, which is as a new media. Internet can offer the advertising revenue or subscription type of revenue. So like paid users, and that is taken by Internet as a new media. And that's been the major business model for the Internet. But now it's moving to e-commerce. In the future, AI is going to be the center of gravity. So internet used to be the keyword, but I think it will be replaced by AI as a buzzword. Well, it's not used as a new media, but rather AI is going to redefine all of the industries. So medical and also fintech, finance industry also will be redefined, or transportation or transportation is going to be redefined. So all the industries will be redefined by AI. And for last year, for 1 year, I have been advocating our cluster of #1 strategy. I mentioned this at the shareholders meeting and other meetings. If I dare to make one step forward, I would say it's not just simple cluster of #1 strategy, but it is AI. It's a cluster of #1 AI strategy. So it is cluster of AI #1 strategy. We will be #1 company of the major AI segments. Of course, there is a conventional internet giant company like Google, Amazon, or Facebook. Well, there are so many of those companies, and we are not the majority shareholder. And I'm sure that those companies are also going to continue doing AI business, as they have done. But maybe 10 or 15 years ago, they were quite small companies. Now, we are inviting those AI players to come to our group, which are going to redefine all of the industries. Maybe 10 years or 15 years from now, I'm sure that many of them are going to be on par to Google, Alibaba, Facebook, and Amazon. So that's why we created Vision Fund. And at the dawn of internet, there is not much money because no one really. I could imagine what is going to be enabled by internet. So before going to IPO, Amazon, Google, Facebook. There was an opportunity for us to invite those players into our group, but we did not have money. But now we are facing that AI is going to bring the huge Big Bang, and for that purpose, we want to really build our group, which is going to be consisted of the Vision Fund, which is advocating the AI cluster of AI #1 strategy. So all the killer companies, unicorns, or #1 companies in the different segments are going to collaborate and cooperate each other. So Paytm from India is going to collaborate with ZhongAn Insurance from China. They are bringing their own data and have certain collaboration to create the new service. This is just one simple example. Alibaba and family companies are already starting to collaborate. Didi or Uber or GM Cruise. I think our family companies are going to bring a lot more collaboration or partnership. So what I wanted to do is we want to really create a group of SoftBank which is leading the AI industry. Of course, today this is the event of SoftBank, and I hope that the discussions which we have had so far will be a bit of your help. SoftBank is going to move toward this era of AI. I think today I ask you this question. Who already initiated AI in your companies? Who already has enough number of AI engineers? There are 3,000 people. and also 1,000 in satellite site, and we have a live streaming over internet. Maybe most of you have not started AI strategy in your companies. Most of you do not have enough number of data scientists, not enough number of AI engineers. I want to say, whatever conquer AI is going to conquer the future. I think the future of AI needs the rules or regulations in our society. And I think the Japanese government, who is hindering AI to come into the society, is sort of denying the future of Japan. Well, I think not just to the Japanese government, but this is applicable to any country. The government is putting a certain hindrance, or maybe company, or maybe you may put a certain hurdle, or you may not have full imagination of what is enabled by AI, or sometimes you may think that instead of using AI, you want to keep using human beings. Maybe that means you yourself are denying or rejecting the future of AI. And that was exactly what happened to the internet. I think when internet was emerging, many people were denying the power of internet. AI, for sure, is going to revolutionize the lifestyle of people. Why AI is going to spread? Well, people might be intimidated by AI, but still AI is coming down to our lifestyles. This is because AI is helping us to overcome or solve the problems. No accidents, or maybe reducing the ailment or illness or diseases. When you get injured, when you have cancers, if your family members get those diseases, it will be sad. And AI is going to mitigate the risk at lower cost, with a sense of security, and with a certain speed. AI is going to help that. And that will bring more happiness in our lifestyles. Well, AI is not just for earning money or earning profit. AI is going to enable the happier lives for the people. I hope that SoftBank Group is going to be the corporate groups which evolves the human beings the most. Well, SoftBank alone may do it with certain difficulties, but now we have so many new family companies in our group. I said I can talk for 48 hours, even I don't want to sleep, because I'm so excited to see the future. So information revolution is going to make people happier, and that is our mission. Using AI, we want to make people happier. And that's our hope. Thank you very much.